and welcome to MusicEL Pathways, the podcast which focuses on the different pathways musicians take in order to reach their musical goals. Today we are going to talk to a therapist over here at MusicEL, so you can get to know him a little bit better. Today we have a professional lead of music therapy for Cornwall Music Service Trust, a classical guitarist by trade, and a musical therapist for the past 15 years in schools and hospitals. Helping students to unlock their feelings and thoughts through music, we have the amazing Liz Eddy.
Hello.
Hi Liz, how's it going?
Very good, thank you.
Good. So as I said at the top, we're going to be having a look at the ways in which music's developed your skills and impacted your life throughout your career.
Okay, sounds
the
interesting.
The first question I ask everyone is, what role did music play as you were growing up as a kid?
I think the biggest role that music played probably was my dad is a guitar player.
Right.
And I remember from a very young age trying to play my dad's guitar. And he had a big acoustic guitar, and when I was little I would try and reach over to try and strum the strings. Obviously couldn't quite reach because I was only small. And then I remember sometimes my parents were having friends over and I used to sneak down the stairs and listen to my dad playing guitar downstairs.
Oh, he used to be like a entertainer of the evening whenever they had anyone over. Yeah,
when people came over and they'd had a few glasses of wine, I think the guitar would come out.
Nice. So you were kind of used to people performing with, like, openly in your house almost. Like it wasn't only going to performances and seeing people playing. You were used to seeing your dad.
Yeah, just my dad. My mum didn't play at all, not really.
Did she sing or anything? Or?
No, she wasn't musical in the same kind of way.
Yeah. But you always grew up around your dad. And when did you then pick up the guitar? Was it, I take it, you probably were playing it at home like you said anyway, but did you start teaching yourself, or was it
I didn't go straight to guitar. I had a bit of a roundabout route to starting to properly play the guitar. So I did recorder at school. Like
classic.
Many kids did. It was the early 80s when I started primary school, and recorder was the thing we all did. So I did recorder, and then I can't remember exactly why, but I started having lessons on the flute.
Oh, right, yeah. Well, I think that happened quite a lot because I'm not a flute or recorder player.
No.
But I think the fingerings for both are relatively similar to some extent. So exactly. I think like it was a natural progression, especially when recorder was massive. I mean, we just talked to Sian and she did the exact same thing. Yeah. So
did she play flute first?
Yes.
Yeah. I think it was quite an accessible instrument as well. You can put it in a little case and carry it to school when you're only small, and have a bit of a go at playing. So I'm sure I had my lessons at school, and I think I got quite good quite quickly, because one of my early memories of flute playing, I think I was about 8 or 9, not particularly old, and I was asked to play a solo in the school concert.
Oh, really?
I know. And I wasn't a very confident child. I think not quite confident enough to say, no, thank you, I don't want to do that.
So you were so nervous that you didn't want to do it, but also not so nervous that you couldn't say no. Yeah. It's the perfect storm.
I only half remember the actual performance, but I played a solo, and one of the school teachers accompanied me, and I think afterwards my mum said to me, "Oh, that didn't go very well, did it?"
Oh, that's always a good start, isn't it?
It wasn't a good start, but I just played really, really fast. I'd learned all the notes in the right order, and I just played through them as fast as I possibly could in order to get off the stage. Yeah. And the teacher desperately tried to keep up with my very fast flute playing. Right. And that was the only time I played the flute in public.
I find that's like not an uncommon problem, like with nerves, is that like that increased tension just increases tempo. Yeah. And it's the worst if you've got like a really nervous drummer, because everything just starts like speeding up as you're going through the song, and everyone's just looking around like, oh my God. And the worst bit is when the drummer looks at you and you can see in their eyes, they're like, I don't know how to slow down. You can just see in their eyes, they're just like, I know I'm fast. I know I'm going fast. There's no way of me stopping this at the minute. And I think that nerves thing and just playing quickly is a real big thing, actually. And I know that I always try and get kids to play as slow as they can, in the hopes that
that they're prepared for the possibility that they're going to speed up as soon as someone's watching them.
Yeah, and if they speed up from being really slow, hopefully they won't speed up to really fast. They might just end somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, exactly.
So that put you off, though?
That basically put me off the flute, yeah.
Right, okay. Did you stop playing it? Like,
I don't think it was as dramatic as I put the flute away that day and never played it again, although it might have been.
Yeah.
I can't quite remember. But flute wasn't really the thing after that. I gravitated towards the guitar, and my dad was my first teacher.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy your dad being your teacher?
I did, and I learnt with my older sister, who's only a year older than me.
Oh, right, okay.
So I remember sitting in the living room, and we both had quite cheap but sort of decent nylon string guitars, and learning to play some songs that we could strum and learning a few chords.
Nice.
And I particularly remember the song When I Needed a Neighbour, which is not a classic tune.
I don't even know that. Is that
it was like an assembly tune back in the day.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
Like, what's that? A Colour Box was one that from my school that no one knows.
Yeah.
But that was like the...
It wasn't a great song.
No.
But it got me playing my first D chord, my first G chord.
Yeah. So fair. Like, when you can do a lot of those open chords, it does just mean that you can do quite a lot of songs with those just standard open chords, can't you? So yeah, it's a good thing that it taught you that at the very least. And that was just with your dad?
That was just with my dad.
Did you ever do any like lessons with a teacher when you were learning?
Again, it's not a direct path through learning. So there was a bit of rivalry between myself and my sister because we're close in age.
Of course.
Yeah, she's a year older. So she started classical guitar lessons and was quite good. So I didn't, although I quite liked classical guitar. I went and had lessons on electric guitars instead.
Right, yeah.
And I went to a teacher called Tony Sutherland. I remember getting on the bus by myself and going to his house with my electric guitar and going to have my lessons and feeling like I was really cool. So,
where was this to?
In Loughborough.
Loughborough.
So I lived in East Midlands at the time.
Yeah. So you went and had lessons with Tony while your sister was doing the classical?
Yes.
Right, yeah.
So I had electric guitar lessons for quite a few years, and that took me through my music GCSE.
Yeah.
So I remember playing with a group of other students when I was doing my music GCSE.
Cool.
I remember playing a version of Easy Lover and I spent hours and hours and hours learning the guitar solo for Easy Lover.
I was going to say, it's got an alright guitar solo, hasn't it?
It's not bad.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think. It's actually got a cool guitar line in general, but maybe not
ding, 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 ding.
Yeah. Maybe not the first song that I'd think about for playing on the guitar, but...
Well, I don't know if it was my choice. I can't remember if it was one that one of the other students had particularly wanted to do. I can't quite remember why it was that song, but I just remember spending a long time learning that guitar solo.
There's some fairly difficult hits in that song as well, aren't there?
It wasn't easy.
Yeah. I was going to say, it's not the easiest song. Now I'm thinking about it. That's pretty tricky. But then I guess it's for GCSE music as a performance piece, so, probably did okay out of that, I'd imagine.
I think I did okay out of that.
It's probably difficult enough that it hit all the marks.
I think we got enough marks. We did Only You as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Did you was your sister still playing guitar by then, or?
Do you know, I can't quite remember.
Yeah. But you hadn't transitioned over to classical.
I didn't transition until it must have been around that time actually I started having classical guitar lessons. Right. And I learned from part of the reason I learned is because there was a classical guitar teacher living in the same cul-de-sac.
Oh right, okay, yeah.
So I don't know if I'd stopped electric guitar and started classical, if I did both for a while, but I moved towards learning classical guitar. And I think I found the challenge of learning to read music and understanding music and the complexities of trying to play things on a classical guitar. I really enjoyed that challenge.
Yeah.
So I got quite drawn into it.
It's very different, isn't it? Like I started off in like a rocky electric background, and I know when someone put notes in front of me, I was like, I need to be able to do this. Like,
there's a lot to learn.
Yeah. And it's a steep hill to climb as well, I think.
Yes. Yeah. I did feel, because by that time I was quite late starting an instrument, I did feel like I was trying to catch up for quite a long time.
Really?
I definitely had that feeling.
When did you start playing? Oh, what? On the classical, you mean?
With the classical guitar.
Right, okay, yeah. But I think, I kind of think that if you've got an instrument that you can play to a good level, actually picking up almost any other instrument, you start with a kind of step up.
Yes.
Like, not that
you've already learned something.
Yeah, it's not that you're going to be good at it, but you've acquired the skills to become good at another instrument.
Yeah.
And that no matter what instrument this other instrument is in relation to your first one, the actual, there's always going to be crossovers. There's always going to be bits of knowledge that fit onto both instruments. So,
I'd agree with that.
Yeah, I think you always start with a little bit of a step up, and actually it's not so bad.
No.
It's not so bad. But the first one's always the biggest struggle.
Yeah, it is.
So you're playing classical guitar by now?
Yes.
And you went to university or college or?
A-levels before then. So my parents separated. My dad stayed near Loughborough.
Yeah.
My mum moved to Southampton. So I decided to go and do my A-levels down in Southampton.
Yeah.
Now, on reflection, I'm not sure I'd advise 16-year-olds to move to an entirely new town to do their A-levels because it wasn't the easiest time.
No. But I mean, you've got to... But I guess actually when you go to college, though, it's a merging of lots of schools.
Yeah, so there were people to open to new friendships and new friendship groups. And I picked a college that taught music A-level because I decided that was something I wanted to do and had a really supportive A-level music teacher.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. What college was that?
It was at Taunton's College in Southampton.
Right, okay. Yeah. Because I had a look at Bournemouth College at one point. And apparently that one's really good for music as well.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, she was really good.
Her
name was Jane.
Were you doing predominantly classical by that time?
I was doing predominantly classical guitar, and at some point during my A-level I decided I wanted to do music at university.
Right. And
I remember quite a lot of people saying to me, you can't possibly do that because you don't play piano and you don't have any grades. And I don't think I'd taken any grade exams. So they said, really, you need a grade 8 on your first instrument and you will need grade 5 piano. So I had a bit of a panic trying to get some exams.
Yeah, I think that's more of like an old school thing now.
I think it's changed, hasn't it?
Yeah.
When was this? 92?
Right. Okay,
around that kind of time?
Yeah. Yeah, because when I went to university, which was 2000, the date's 9?
Yeah.
2009? I'm going to guess it was that. I did have a grade 8, but it wasn't really important. I went and did a performance audition to go into university anyway. So, I didn't need the grade 8
because they need to know you can play.
Me. Yeah, they auditioned me. So I think a lot more schools do that now. They do.
I'm really pleased they do because it can create a barrier that doesn't need to be there.
Yeah, and I don't think you need piano. I told you earlier, I am still terrible at the piano.
I'm terrible too.
Yeah. I can, mildly, I can play something that is somewhat a tune, but it's it's not
with
fluent.
2 hands.
Oh. 2 hands if my left hand is playing bass notes. Does that count? Bass note chord.
It just counts.
Yeah, just about. Yeah, just about do that, but not my instrument. I really need to get better at it. Really do need to get better at it. But yeah, I think that barrier's a bit more out of the way now.
I'm really pleased it has because there are young people for whatever reason don't always have the opportunities to have lessons and take exams. It doesn't mean they don't have a desire to learn and an ability that they can get loads out of studying music.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing really, isn't it? Like you go to university because you've got a real interest in something that you want to get better at.
Yeah.
So why should you already be absolutely at the top before you go? Because there's nowhere to go then, is there?
No.
So it makes complete sense that isn't there as a barrier anyway.
Yes.
Did you have to do performances and things at uni? I guess.
I didn't do that much. I went to the University of Sheffield, so I got in on the basis that I was working hard towards my grade 8 and my
How did they grade
piano.
you if you didn't perform?
It was a modular course,
right? Okay.
And you had to perform at the end of the first year, but after that you didn't have to. You could pick out different options, composition was something I did music technology. Created stuff in the studio and handed that in instead.
That's kind of cool though.
Yeah.
And that is still a big option now. I think in fact much bigger. You can just go do a tech course. Yeah.
And there was loads of other stuff that we studied. I remember doing modules on emotional responses to music.
Was that your first?
Yeah, I think that really drew me into the world of music therapy. I picked my modules partly based on which lecturer was running which module, and the professor at the department at the time was Professor Eric Clark, and I liked his teaching style, and I kept picking his things, and there were things all around the psychology of music.
Right, okay.
So I got quite drawn into analysing music and how people do experiments to see how people respond emotionally to different tracks and elements of music.
That's basically your like first taste of therapy, and that's what like. Did you know at the time that was something you were really interested in? I
didn't know. I completely had no idea that's where I was going to go eventually. There was a introduction to music therapy module, and I didn't pick it. So.
It's ironic, isn't it?
Yeah.
There was actually a music teaching module in college. No, my first year of university I didn't take. I did take it in my third year. So
you changed between year 1 and year 3?
Yeah, between year 1 and year 3 I changed my perspective on what I thought I might do.
Yeah. But I don't think I knew what I wanted to do.
No, I still don't think I did at that point. I don't think anyone really does.
No.
I don't.
I knew that I wanted to be studying music. I was sure about that. Yeah. But I didn't quite know where it was going to take me.
Yeah, because that's more like what you're passionate about as opposed to what you're actually going to do with it afterwards.
Yeah.
And then what did you do after university? Did you?
I went into retail. Okay. So through university, I always had a job. And I first worked in a little shop called Calm and Classical. Okay. And it was a classical music shop, basically.
Vinyl or?
No, CDs.
CDs at that point.
But it sold classical music and jazz and show soundtracks.
Okay.
And I don't think it made any money.
They spent more money on you being there than what they actually made from the sales that they provided.
Yes. We did sell CDs to a few specialist customers, but quite often it was me on my own or with another student in the shop. And we'd always have assignments to do, so we were supposed to be studying Beethoven or Messiaen or some other composer. So I'd spend my time in the shop listening to stuff that was relevant to my assignments.
That's pretty cool though, isn't it? Like having the opportunity to listen.
Yeah.
I know at university I got introduced to loads of types of music that I probably would have never listened to otherwise.
I agree with that.
Yeah. And I still really like some of it today.
Yeah.
But I do think I do wonder why I didn't listen to it before. Like what my apprehension was about listening to a piece of music.
I think we just all get into listening to like a comfort zone with our listening.
Yeah.
Things that are familiar to you, and you go back to things that are comfortable.
That's it.
So you're more likely to listen to a new album by an artist you've heard of than an album that pops up on a suggestion that you don't know who they are.
And I also think if you trust someone and they suggest something to you, you're much more likely to listen to it.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think that's where you trust your lecturers or your teachers. If they suggest a band or an artist to you, you're going to pick it up and be like, I better have a listen because I like them and they like it, so therefore I might like it.
Yeah. I remember for all kinds. Yeah, so there was a lot of focus on classical music and the classical music world, but I do remember lecturers referring to people like Nina Simone.
Right. Okay.
Underworld. I remember analysing an Underworld track at one point.
Right.
Transglobal Underground was one of the lecturer's favourites. So all kinds of things popped up on the course.
That's pretty crazy, isn't it?
It was. It was a big mixture.
Yeah, but like I said, it's like your friends suggest music and you listen to them, and I think when you get to university, your teachers seem far more like friends as opposed to teachers.
Yeah,
it's a much more of a what's the word?
More adult to adult relationship rather than adult child.
Yeah, it's like peer to peer rather than someone like being your teacher over the top of you or what have you. And then when did you come back to music after retail then?
So I did retail for, 5 or 6 years, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I was a manager of music stores, and then I think I just got to a point where I really enjoyed it, but I wasn't challenged by it.
Right, yeah.
So we were always busy. There's always stuff to do in a shop. But I think my brain wasn't... I felt the fact that my brain wasn't really digging as deep as it could do. Or wasn't feeling the intellectual challenge. So I decided to apply for an MA in music therapy. And I kind of knew what it was. Yeah. But I wasn't entirely clear.
Yeah, you had a rough idea of what music therapy might be.
Yeah.
But what drew you to that course then if you didn't really 100% know what it was? Was there external draw to it? Or
it's a really good question. I feel like I should have a clear answer to that.
You just don't.
I just knew I wanted to do something different.
Okay.
And I didn't think I'd get onto the course.
Right.
So I think my expectation was that I'd apply for a place on an MA music therapy course and they'd say, no, go away. And that would be the end of that. And then I'd think of something else to do.
Right.
But that's not what happened.
It just fell into place.
Well, it kind of did. The first interview I went to, it did happen that way. I went to interview at, it was the Music College in Cardiff. Not university one, music, I forgot what it's called. Royal College of Music in Wales or that place.
Welsh Royal College of Music.
That one, yeah. So I went there. The interview went really badly. And they basically told me I couldn't possibly be a music therapist. It wasn't for me. But the next week I went to Cambridge and interviewed over at Anglia Ruskin University and they offered me a place. So I went there, obviously.
Meant to be.
Yeah.
That's amazing though. I think that comes back to that same thing earlier that we were saying, well, one teacher might fit you and another one doesn't.
Yes,
so
yeah.
like your friend or peer or what have you. And so maybe it was that same thing with the interviewee.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
It wasn't things didn't quite click.
Yeah.
In that context. Yeah.
So you went to Cambridge?
I did. I like to say I studied in Cambridge because it sounds really impressive.
Not the famous
it wasn't actually Cambridge University. Yeah, I did my MA in Cambridge.
Yeah.
But not at Cambridge University. And
you just say it really quickly off the back and hope no one notices. Yeah, I studied in Cambridge, but not at university.
Yeah, that's just what I did. So I lived in Cambridge for a year, and at the time you did a postgraduate diploma in music therapy, and then you could register with the HCPC and start working, and then you'd complete your MA thesis based on some of the practical work you were doing as a newly qualified therapist.
So kind of like teacher training, where you kind of do a course in it and do your learning, and then you go out and have to fill a file of evidence essentially to prove that you can teach. Yeah,
it was pretty much like that then. They've changed it now, so you have to do a full MA before you register, before you practice. So they've standardised that across all the trainings in the UK.
What, an MA in therapy before you practice?
You have to have an MA in music therapy, then you register with the HCPC, which is the Healthcare Professions Council, and then you can practice as a music therapist.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So after you finished university,
yeah,
what did you then move on to? Did you go straight into working as a therapist?
I did. Yeah, I went straight into work. So this is 2007, and I got my first job working in an adult learning disability service, and I ran a group there. I was in Loughborough, and then at the time I didn't know how much music therapy work I'd get, so I started working as a travel agent part-time.
The obvious choice.
Well, it wasn't the obvious choice, but it was a call centre travel agent job, so you could do shift work.
Right, okay.
Which fit, and then I thought that was really good because I could pick shifts to fit around what other opportunities came up.
Yeah.
So I worked for them a little bit, selling flights to Dubai, and then did music therapy work in an adult learning disability centre.
That's cool.
And then a job came up in a special school in Leicester, and it was 2 days a week working in a school, and it was a proper employment contract. So I really, really wanted the job, and I thought, right, I'm going to apply for that, see if I can get it. And I got that job, so that was my first real big piece of music therapy work.
How did you find the transition between learning about music therapy and then actually practically being a therapist?
Well, it was massive, really, because we did an awful lot of theory in the course.
Yeah.
We did practice placements, but the practice placements, as it turned out, were all quite different to the work that I ended up doing.
Yeah.
Practice placements, I did, now I think back, one in a psychiatric hospital in North London. I'd worked briefly in a special school, but that wasn't most of the practice placement. That was a short one. I worked in a private care home for people with dementia.
Yeah.
So I hadn't done that much of being in a school environment, and then I was employed as a music therapist with a full timetable of work to do.
Yeah, because it's one of those things that I can imagine it being quite vastly different just from student to student.
Yes.
Let alone workplace to workplace. Yeah, this is it. So I can imagine that the jump from being theoretically learning about all the parts involved to actually doing it being pretty enormous.
I think it's huge, yeah. And I think both myself and the other members of the music therapy and team team in Cornwall at the moment, we still do a lot of jumping from one job to another.
Yeah.
And there's quite huge gaps in how you interact with people in hospital compared to how you interact in school, or how you are when you go into someone's home, how you work online. And we jump between them all the time.
But that's part of the joy of the job.
It is.
Surely, like,
absolutely,
you know, if you didn't enjoy that, then maybe it wouldn't be the job for you. But
you're exactly right. I don't think you'd do it for very long if you didn't kind of enjoy that.
Yeah.
And you definitely can't get bored. But I think what the course taught me was how to think things through and how to respond emotionally, how to be grounded in a situation, you know, all those really basic skills that you need as a therapist.
Yeah.
I think that's where the course really sets you up for work.
Do you think that the course was almost in place to cut the wheat from the chaff in some ways, student-wise? Because I know that I've got friends who are like doctors, and they said that some of the initial parts of the course are kind of to give people a real, like, is this what you want to be doing kind of thing. Did you find that, or was it more open and, I don't know, less daunting? It
was a pretty daunting course.
Yeah.
They tested you, for sure. And
they
put you out of your comfort zone a lot. You had to do things that you weren't comfortable with.
Yeah.
Like just exploring the different ways in which you use music and your own emotional responses to things.
Yeah.
And there were, I think, at least one person dropped out quite early in the course.
Yeah, yeah. But I think that's for the better, because it prepares you then for when it becomes real.
Exactly.
You know?
And it's not an easy job.
No.
I would never say to people, you know, there's elements of job that are absolutely fantastic and really interesting, but it's not easy.
No.
And if you want an easy job, this is not one you choose.
But it's a rewarding job, I guess.
Absolutely,
It's that like weighing up of the two things, isn't it? One,
rewarding and challenging, I would say. But
it's cool.
Yeah.
It's cool. And I guess are you predominantly in younger children or teenagers, or do you obviously you do all the way through? But
yeah, I've done all kinds.
Yeah.
My current work is younger children.
And what do you prefer, teaching the younger children to the adults, or?
I do actually.
Yeah.
And I just think there's something about young children where when they meet you as a music therapist, they never meet you as a music therapist.
Right.
They meet you as someone who's come to pay attention to them, and they engage with you in a very playful, open way.
Yeah. And
I think as soon as you get into probably secondary school age, there's a sort of level of self-consciousness about the relationship between you that's different.
Right. Okay,
and I think I really enjoy that, the connection you get with younger children.
Do you think by doing it with primary school children, you prevent that a bit when they get older, you know, that they're less apprehensive about having therapy as they get older, because they're more used to it as a younger person?
I think that can really help, especially for children who, just due to the circumstances they live in, they're going to face challenges throughout their whole life. If they've had early experience of therapy where they felt safe, they felt valued, they felt listened to, I think that can really help them to engage with support from all kinds of different services. Which is great. Yeah.
That's a great outcome, isn't it? You know, it means that they're not going to go unheard because they're afraid.
Yeah.
They're gonna actually go out and get help when they need it.
Yeah.
And we said earlier, like, I think that's maybe a bit of a downfall of us English people, in that we covet our feelings quite a bit.
Even now, I mean, there's a sort of a widespread suggestion that we're getting better at talking about mental health and emotional well-being, but are we?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I think the pandemic really brought that out in a lot of people as well. Like, I think a lot of people had time to focus on their feelings a bit more because they're at home.
Yeah.
And a lot of people made a lot of revelations about themselves during the pandemic.
Do you know, I think one of the things that happens though is we get stuck in our words, and we get stuck with the limited vocabulary that we have to try and describe how we feel and express our inner selves.
Yeah.
And I think as soon as you use a creative means like music or art, you can somehow get to different spaces.
Yeah.
So I think that's where music therapy can really fit in and really help people.
Yeah, and you were saying earlier about listening to music and actually thinking about how it makes you feel.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure loads of people, including probably everyone who's watching this, listens to music, but you don't really take it that one step further and go, actually, how does this song make me actually feel? It might make you feel happy or sad or whatever you think out loud, but how does it actually make you feel? What are you actually taking away from it? And I found that really, it was an interesting thought. Just bringing that up made my brain just go.
Yeah. I find with young people a lot, if we're in a music therapy session, I would ask them what song they want to use or what song they've been listening to recently, and they might say something. And quite often I would say, well, what is it about that song? You can get quite a lot of reflection around why they've chosen a particular song, whether it was a suggestion from a friend or their mum and dad play it at home, or they remember it from a particular occasion years ago. Yeah,
because you do get periods sometimes where you just listen to like the same song or the same album or the same artist,
and it sticks with you for some reason.
Yeah, and you just do it for like a period of time. Like I have had albums in a car for like a good month.
Yeah,
the same album
over and over
again, and it's not been bad to me to have that.
Yeah.
So it's obviously doing something at that point. And when I hear that album now, I think of that time or whatever it might be. So I think it is interesting to analyse it thinking backwards as well, because you just don't at the time when you're listening to music. No. But I guess that's part of the beauty of it, is that
it connects you to different places and different feelings.
Yeah, and it can take your mind away from things at the same time.
Yes.
And you can be then reminded by getting back to that.
Yeah.
It's just an interesting way of...
I think there's sometimes when you're going through times in your life and you can't quite express how you feel to people and you can't quite connect and you can't quite feel understood. And sometimes you'll just hear a piece of music or a song and you think, yeah, that's it.
That's the one. They've got me.
Yeah, they got me. And that's sometimes how simple it is.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes complete sense.
Yeah.
It makes complete sense. So I normally talk a lot here about performances and how a lot of musicians perform a lot, but I know that from talking to you that you actually haven't performed a lot because maybe because of those early
it's not something I'm drawn
performance
to.
Things.
I think I said this to you earlier as well. As a young person through university and my A-level and my GCSE, I made a massive big deal out of performing in my head. I would get really anxious about it and worry about it. I don't think I enjoyed it at all.
Yeah.
No, there was something about the challenge of learning a piece and getting ready for a performance that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But actually being on a stage wasn't a fun thing. Didn't like it. And I don't know how much that's because almost all those situations I was being assessed or judged in some way. Yeah. So there was a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
It wasn't let's just get together and play for fun kind of situation. No. So, but I think a lot's changed now. If someone asks me to play now and says, it's somebody's wedding, do you want to prepare a piece?
Yeah.
I would do that in a much more positive, enjoyable way.
Yeah.
And I would do it without creating a lot of stress for myself.
Yeah. Because I said to you, I used to be extremely stressed performing.
Yeah.
Like almost sick. I was so stressed. But it was because when I first started, I started doing a music course at the same time that I started playing an instrument, which is not wise.
So you went straight into having to play in front of people without really the skills to...
Exactly that, which is, like I said, not wise, not the best choice, but it's the choice I made, so I stuck with it.
Yeah.
And I was just so stressed about it. But now I don't even think about performing. Like I have walked onto a stage with hundreds of people in front of me and not been thinking about where's my coffee or I'm really hungry, and not really anything beyond those two thoughts, or like, oh, I'm quite tired tonight.
Yeah. Like, and you just play
and then play for 2.5 hours or whatever it might be. Like it's so weird now. I think about how I used to act.
Yeah. But I'm guessing you're not on your own on stage, are you? You're with a band.
No, but I was because I did a performance course when I started. I was always with a band. I never did solo performance. And if you go and listen to a solo bass player, you're not doing good things. You might want to rethink.
I've never done that. Are you suggesting that I never do that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there are some very good solo bass players, but
Name one.
I think only bass players go and watch them. There's a reason why we don't get bass solos very often.
Yeah.
Although I put them in every
even
song.
being with a band in those early days, you'd get really nervous.
Yeah. Even though I was in the back, I was behind someone as well.
Yeah.
I used to be really good at hiding behind people. It's a bass player secret, but you get very good at hiding.
Literally hiding behind people.
Oh yeah. Literally, like.
I think that must be a lot easier because I was trying to play classical guitar and it's very exposing. Yeah. It's just you and your guitar.
Yeah, and they make horrible noises if you play the wrong string.
Really squeaky. And,
if you play the wrong string, it's muted. You just get that like horrible click that seems to resonate through the whole room. Yeah, I have had that now. I have done performances by myself now, but I didn't have to do that when I first started. Thankfully, I think that would have been much more difficult.
Yeah, but I think there's something really nice now about the idea of playing music, and it's just because I don't think I just all that worry about whether I'm doing it well enough isn't there. I think I would be able to focus on playing and therefore probably play better. Yeah, because it doesn't matter so much.
Yeah, some of the best advice that was given to me it's always stuck with me ever since, and it's probably the reason why I'm not so worried about it is one of my teachers, who's a really great musician. He said that every note you play is a piece of music, and once you play it, it's gone. It's out
true.
there.
Yeah, it happened. It was over.
Yeah. And he was like, so why would you ever worry about something that's gone? And that rings massively. Good advice. Yeah, it rings massively true for me. Like, I play so many wrong notes. I'm really good at wrong notes.
How many people notice?
But no one notices. No. But it just doesn't matter because it's all part of that song, that one performance. And those people got to see that performance. And maybe you played the best solo in the world, but only those people are going to know that.
Yeah. Well, I don't think, as an audience member, I've obviously seen people play wrong notes or forget the lyrics to their song or stumble or break a guitar string. It doesn't matter. No. But it's only as a grown-up you potentially realise that.
Yeah, I think it's a much bigger deal especially when you're hyper-focused on the fact that you want it to be right or sound amazing, which is an anomaly in itself, isn't it? You know.
Yes. Well, I think that's one of the things I love about music therapy is that we're never focused on it sounding amazing. We're focused on the experience people are having, and the sound, whether it sounds amazing, just is not that important at all.
And I think that if someone is focused on the experience anyway, that they'd probably play the song better.
Yeah. I think so.
You know, if they were more focused on just having fun and playing music, they're always going to play the song better than if they are worried about playing a wrong note.
Yes.
Because they will always play the wrong note.
You will, because your fingers stiffen up or shake or whatever happens.
It's like saying to someone not to say a word. You'll always say that word. So I think we'll bring this now around somewhat to where we were at the beginning.
Okay.
And there's one main question which always brings up the second question, so I won't tell you the second one, but the main question is, what role does music now play to you as an adult? Because we heard as a child your dad was playing music, but obviously you don't live with your dad anymore.
Nope.
So what is life like for you now as a music therapist and an adult?
Well, music obviously has a big role in my work.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be able to do my work without playing music and encouraging other people to play music. And I think just by the very nature of the job, I get to try out all different kinds of instruments and have a go at lots of different things.
Yeah.
And I think that idea of trying to polish up a piece of music to make it perfect isn't featured very much. Quite often I'm sort of busking a version of a song in a session and then we won't play it again.
Yeah.
So it has a playful role, I think, in work. But music isn't just in work, it's in life as well. And I think it's something that helps connect with other people. You know, if you suggest a song to someone and they enjoy it, I think you get a sort of personal connection from that.
Yeah. And just generally talking about music.
Yeah.
Like, I still just generally talk to people about music.
Yeah.
Like as an adult, just like I did as a teenager or whatever.
Yeah, it's something you can connect with people over, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a shared taste in music. You know, if someone, actually, even beyond that, maybe even an opposing taste in music, I think as an adult you can even understand that and appreciate that someone's really passionate about a different kind of music.
Yeah, I'd
so
agree
you
with
can
that.
connect if you both like the same music, but equally you can connect that you don't like the same music, which is, I could have never thought about that as a teenager. Definitely, I think I was quite closed off on the kind of music I liked as a teenager.
Yeah,
as most are.
But by people telling you what they like, they're telling you something about themselves.
Yeah,
and that's a connecting thing, even if it means that you don't have the same preference.
Yeah, exactly. So presumably you're still listening to music.
I still listen to music, yeah.
So what are you listening to at the minute?
Oh, no, I hate that question.
The second question.
I drove home yesterday listening to Michael Kiwanuka, who's one of my current favourite.
Who's that? I've never heard of this person.
Have you never heard of this person? He won the Mercury Music Prize last year.
What's the Mercury? No, I'm joking. I'm not. I do vaguely recognise the name, but I have not listened to him.
Oh, he's a singer-songwriter. He plays cross-genre, sort of soul, jazz influenced, folkish type songs, and he's got a beautiful voice, and he's well worth listening to.
That's cool. What's his album called?
It wasn't the newest album that I was listening to. I think it's called Home Again.
Okay.
I feel like I should know that for sure.
I was going to say,
I'm pretty sure
that's like that's a very like classic singer-songwriter album name, isn't it? Home Again.
Well, that's where we all start off with, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I used to love
what music says to me. This is home.
Yeah, I used to love this singer-songwriter guy called no, the name.
It'll pop in your head in a minute.
Yeah, it'll come back in a minute. But his album is called Coming Home. So it's pretty similar.
Yes.
Yeah, and he's got a very weird name as well. I cannot think of his name. Dallas Green.
Not someone I know.
No. He's like he's from a very, very heavy rock band.
Okay.
But he also does like an acoustic band. He does a band with Pink.
I've heard of her.
Yeah, you've heard of her. So they did like a country album together, which is kind of cool.
I was trying to play a Pink song last week for music therapy.
Oh, really?
It's called Cover Me in Sunshine.
Oh, is that one of her newer ones?
I don't know. It did have a kind of country edge to it. So
yeah, she's gone quite country, I think. Yeah, but this album she did with Dallas Green is super, super country.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's really good. I forget. It's called You and I believe. But yeah, but he's even though he's in a really heavy rock band, he does these kind of like singer, songwriter, ambient acoustic things. So yeah, but that's called Coming Home, which is fairly close.
Yes.
So what's his name again?
Michael Kiwanuka.
How do you spell the last bit?
Kiwanuka.
Yeah, I need that because else I'll never be able to spell it when I look it up.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I listen to all kinds of things. I just, whenever people ask me the question, what do you listen to? I don't know.
It's something new.
Yeah.
Something new each time.
I don't know the answer because I forget.
That's good though. Like, I'm just terrible with names, as was previously demonstrated about 2 seconds ago.
It's always useful to look at people's Apple Music or something, isn't it? Because then you can find out what they actually listen to.
Yeah.
Facts are there.
They'll lie to you, and then it's all
on your most played.
I don't know what's embarrassing now. I don't know what is currently embarrassing. No one's really that worried about things being embarrassing anymore. I don't think
people just are what they are.
Yeah, they just listen to stuff now.
Yeah,
I remember when I was in college, it used to be like really embarrassing to listen to this person or that person, but
yeah. I think there was a thing, wasn't there, when someone got really popular, it would become uncool to listen to them.
But
it's
equally
like you've got
cool
to
by another
search
group
out
of
someone
people.
unknown.
At the same time, it's cool and uncool.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's complicated.
Yeah, it's music. Yeah. All music is complicated.
Yeah. Now I get led by my daughter a bit now as well, what she likes.
Oh, yeah.
She's 5 and she's starting to develop her own tastes.
Yeah, if I did that, it would be Baby Shark, and that is not a it's not a path I want to.
Don't go down there. No.
No. We don't want to go down the Baby Shark path. Oh, there's a movie which I do not recommend to anyone. But you'll get to see it, I'm sure, if you have
Baby
a child.
Shark, the movie.
Yeah, it's terrible. Absolutely terrible.
I'm sorry you've had to endure that.
But it's music still. She loves music, and that is the important bit.
Yeah, she'll develop from there.
Yeah, hopefully.
Sure.
She will. So I think that brings us pretty much to the end. And I hope you've managed to gain a little bit of inspiration to think about your music a little bit more and why you're doing things. I think, like I said earlier on, we barely ever do that, and it's really, really important. And also remember that every pathway leads to your goals eventually, so try and take them all, and hopefully you'll end up exactly where you're meant to be. And until next time, bye.